Okay, in this video we'll see how to create a transactions page that is listing of all the transactions that we entered, then creating pagination, then creating filters for this transactions page. Okay, we'll see how to create a repository, a transaction service, and pagination view for the expense tracker project. Okay, so after completion, the page will look something like this. Okay, so let's get started. So what we need to do now is we have the route and we already have the transactions route. Okay, so firstly let's create a query that will take filters. Okay, so we already have a transactions repository. So what we'll do is we'll include query here with all the parameters which are required. Like we'll be having filters such as description, we'll be having amount, like an amount filter. Okay, start date and the end date. Okay, so let's import this and let's import a page class from Spring Framework. Let's import this class, query params. Let's import pageable for pagination. Let's import big decimal and local date. Okay, so we have the all the parameters here, and this query will be based on all the parameters, so it will search based on the provided parameters. Now what we'll do is we'll create another class called as transaction service. So I'll name it transaction service. Okay, and then let's include transaction repository here. We'll provide the annotation service. Okay, and we'll import the class of service. Now we'll add this code below. Okay, so the transaction repository sends the data. Okay, sends the data to this. Sends the data to transactions with all its parameters. So we import the page class here. We'll import the big decimal. We'll import all other parameters here. Okay, we'll save this page. So this is the service that we created, and we'll use this service in the controller. Okay, in my controller, what I will do is I will provide all the filter parameters along with the pagination parameters as well. Okay, so in list transactions, I'll copy this, and this will be all of my parameters. So I'll import these classes. Okay, you can see all of these parameters. All of these parameters are filter parameters and the pagination parameters. Now instead of list, we should use page here. So I will use pageable here. Okay, so it will be a request page and the size. Okay, so size will be the total number of pages, and page will have the each page record. Okay, then what we'll do is we'll include page transaction. So let's import these classes here. Okay, also include the transaction service. Okay, we go ahead and include this transaction service here. Okay, and instead of this, we'll remove this because we do not require this now. Let's bind filters also to the model. I've added all the other filters to the model, and this data will be available for us now. Let's go ahead and see in the view, like what to do in the view. So let's add pagination and filters in the view. Okay, let's add a filter form to the view. So let's go to the transaction page, and just below, just after this, let's add, okay, this is the transactions page. So where should we add? We should add it over in the card body just after this. Just after this, let's add the filter form. So let's run the application now just to see if the filters are coming. So the server has started on port 8080. So let's click on localhost 8080 and transactions. So we do have the filters here. So next we need to list the products. No, list the transactions in the table. So we'll use the Bootstrap table to list the transaction. We'll remove this text here, and let's place the table just below this. So if you see the code, I'll minimize this. If you see the code, so what we do is we get the transaction content that we pass in the model. So this is the variable that we pass. So the variable is transactions. So we have binded the data here, and then we pass it to the view, and then we have transaction ID, transaction description. So it will go to the loop. So each will loop through the transaction object and display the data here. So, and we have a view edit and delete button. So this will create this routes will create in the next video. So this actions and the functions for this. So let's save this and let's rerun the code. And do not worry, I'll put this code on the GitHub once I complete all the series, all the videos. So I'll put the final code on the GitHub and provide the link in the description. So if we run this, we can see that there is one record and showing entries 1 of 1. Okay, so now let's add pagination to the be just below the table. So this is a table here, so let's just add pagination here. So you can see the pagination here. So we had appended the Bootstrap classes here, and then we have used the pagination links here, like the transaction number and the transaction page. Okay, we have provided the next and the previous button here. So if we save this and rerun the application now, rerun the application, so we should be able to see the total number of pages that are getting displayed here. Yes, the total number of pages is 1. Okay, so we'll add an account, we'll add a transaction to this page. We'll add a new transaction. Amount is 200, we'll say. Date is 4th. Description is some description. Okay, now we can see now treat. So this is my expense, and I'll add a transaction. So we already have 2 transactions now. So the total number of pages are by default 10. So we can change it to 5 as well. Okay, so what will happen is now if we click on search, and we'll say dinner, we'll just put dinner here, so it should be able to search the dinner. So this is how the pagination would work. So if I remove this and if I reload, so we'll put only 200 equal to 200. So this filter should also work. Okay, so let's add another transaction to check the dates. Click on add here. I'll just change the route. So I will refine this code in the next video. So let's create a nice menu for the transaction tab. So I'll say here 200 back again, and date will be 3rd. We can use 3rd. Then lunch. Transaction type is expense. I'll click on add. Okay. Then so we can add, we can check the dates here. So I'll say from 3rd to 3rd, since we want to filter this. And if I click on filter here, and that should work. So this is how the pagination and the listing of the transaction would work.